I think we'll just sort of move forward to the first slide. IGY is principally involved in basically products relating to antibodies, and specifically we have been focusing on celiac disease recently. IGY's fundamental sort of roots go back through Gary Viltard, who anyone who I suppose is involved in the agriculture or food business in Alberta knows a little of. I think the Viltard farm started in sometime like 1905, and Viltard's eggs took things forward a little bit, but one of the very notable collaborations that took place was the development of the omega-3 enriched designer egg. And that IGY's sort of base core team is derivative of that. Dr. Sims and Gary are in fact the principles behind this innovation. The innovation also includes the University of Alberta, and which is a shareholder, in fact, in IGY. So IGY operates in that borderland between, if you like, full commercial operation and an operation where we're still involved in research. A significant part or reason for the necessity of that collaboration is we're just in the process of facing clinical trials, and you need all the help you can get. We've been, I'd like to thank Ken and ACAMP, for inviting us here today, because first of all of these efforts are collaborative, and secondly, ACAMP it fits into this story as well, as you'll see as we move a little further down the process, because fundamentally we're not just proceeding with one line of products. There's a whole area of developments. For us, we have been specifically looking at producing antibodies for E. coli and other related, a number of pathogens. Now, Gary sort of pointed out that a chicken has a very small brain, and because it has a very small brain, it can only focus on one thing. And what happens is the chicken then becomes effectively a factory to produce whatever antibody you'd like. And the chicken's only chance to pass something on to its young is to produce these antibodies, and it only takes about 20 days to train a chicken to focus on a particular antibody. Because of that kind of procedure, you can in fact produce antibodies that'll help with gluten and with food poisoning in general. We're facing clinical trials, so we can't hand out samples, but Gary has already got a good deal of work has been done, patents have been filed, and there exist now pills that essentially consist of dried egg yolk from chickens that have been exposed. And that egg yolk, when you consume this as a pill, you then have the antibodies in your intestinal tract. And if you eat something that contains E. coli, the antibody coats the E. coli before it gets into your system. I mean, this is a lot of these cool things that were discussed this morning have to do with research on future things, and there were concerns expressed about whether this passes into your kidneys. All of these things are sort of based on natural processes that we understand very well, but which fundamentally have good science behind them. And furthermore, they're sort of producible in a kind of Alberta market or Alberta situation without a whole lot of elaboration. So whereas if you're trying to produce antibodies with, say, mice, you have, it costs a lot. It's a lot easier just to take an egg yolk and dry it. The whole procedure is rather simple and rather cost effective. So fundamentally, the first target product here has to do with gluten. And you wouldn't believe it, but there is a significant, you're talking fundamentally about millions of people already. I think it's 1% of the population incidence. And when you look at one of these conditions, like gluten intolerance, you often find that there are relationships to other conditions. Dyslexic children, for example, aren't necessarily gluten intolerant. We don't have proof of these things, but there seem to be strong indications that if you assist in providing antibody protection, that you not only help with things like the gluten intolerance itself, but you may help a lot of other things. There are indications, and research is always a little hazy, indications that things like gluten intolerance may be precursors to things that develop into Crohn's disease or more other types of irritations. So here, fundamentally, we have a product that's really simple. You kind of irritate chickens a little with gluten or something. You produce a lot of egg yolk. You dry that egg yolk. You powder that egg yolk. And you end up with IGY. And this, we have been very careful this time because, as I think I mentioned, the requirement for partnerships, that we've gone a long way on worldwide patents, etc. I think Gary has probably benefited billions of people with what he started. Oh, Gary, Dr. Sims, the team, benefited a lot of people with what they started with the omega-3 enriched egg. But in many cases, that technology just sort of migrated into a lot of countries because there wasn't adequate protection. This time, I think we're going at it a little more carefully. This is sort of a repeat of that general information about how the gluten binds in the upper GI tract.